Hey, I'm Otter, and I'm here with my buddy Mick. Today we've set up at our local hammock-friendly winter campground to demonstrate my favorite way to sit in the woods. Since posting the DIY thread for this hammock chair system, we've gotten a lot of great feedback, some great suggestions, and we've got a lot of requests to shoot video. Now, I have not shot video in the past. I've always maintained that I'm not a video guy. But I've decided today we're going to give it a shot, so I'm going to step out from behind my camera to talk about one of my favorite subjects, the Winter Recliner II. Here's the chair setup, but let's go back to the beginning. When I'm carrying this thing, I use one stuff sack for the hammock chair, the suspension, and the underquilt. Depending on the DIY materials that you're using, the weight and the compression size will vary. So if I'm just setting up the chair, I'm looking for trees that are about 4 to 6 feet apart. If I'm also setting up the tarp, now I do have a custom tarp for this, which we'll get to in just a little bit. I did bring it today. If I'm using the tarp, then I'm looking for at least 6 to 7 feet because of the tarp's ridge line. And like I said, we'll get that out. You can see that in just a little bit. The best thing to do is to try to keep the trees as close together as possible. It gives you better range for adjusting the chair. Just overall, if the trees are too far apart, you're going to have a little bit of a difficult time. So before we pull it out into the hammock mode, which we're just about to get to, I just want to talk quickly about the Micro Beast. The Micro Beast was actually designed specifically for the chair. Now, I did post a full set of instructions with the instructions for the chair itself on the Winter Recliner II DIY thread on Hammock forums. Anybody attempting, if you have any questions, concerns, don't hesitate to let me know. I love questions. Having said that, you can go with the custom design, but at the same time, if you have a 3/4 length underquilt, it works great. I mean, if you don't need to make a specific quilt, don't do it. Use your 3/4. This setup here, this is Mick's Phoenix from Hammock here. Fantastic. Works really well. Fits the chair really well. As a matter of fact, the quilt being wider tends to wrap up a little bit more around you. And it kind of gave me the idea for the next quilt design. I'm probably going to go a little bit wider as well because it's just it's great, especially if you're in colder temperatures. It really helps to keep you warm. Fantastic setup. Mick does not complain. As we all know, suspension is a preference. We all have different methods. We use different things, whoopee slings. In my case, I'm a Dutch wear fan, so I've got the titanium Dutch clip, and I use the cinch buckle. Great device right here. Easy adjustability. Just a fantastic thing. Having said that, how you get from the tree to the SMC ring is totally your choice. I went with the SMC ring on this design. At the top, it is a point for multiple hitch, so we've got both ends of the hammock. Now this is a full length 11-foot gathered end hammock. The ends are just a channel with a continuous am steel loop. The two of them actually lark's head around this ring at the top, and then of course we've got the connection into the cinch buckle for the adjustment. Now a little bit later on we are going to separate this thing. I'm going to show you it pulled out in hammock mode. So to offer more versatility in both chair and hammock mode, what we did was we went with a new hem style on the Winter Recliner II. This is a double fold hem. The first fold is stitched head to foot all the way along, and then the second fold is stitched, same thing, head to foot, but every 6 inches there is roughly 1 inch opening, and that runs across the entire length. Now the reason for this is in chair we're able to put in a quilt hook, which I'm going to show you in just a second. In hammock you're able to do a piece of shock cord through the channel and fasten. I'm going to explain that in just a little bit. Let's start by explaining how the quilt hook goes in order to hook up the suspension for the underquilt. So first thing, you find the spot on your hem where you want to make an attachment point. From there, all you're going to do is slip the batten into the channel, and you're going to pull it up just a little bit to clear it, and then your quilt hook's going to go in. Once it's in there, this is the only tricky part really, is you have to line up the batten with the eye of the quilt hook and push it through until it stops. Now the batten itself, it was a piece of disposable bamboo chopstick, which we cut down. We shaved down one side so that it would fit through the quilt hook. The eye of the quilt hook, and then once you push it through, it'll stop at a certain point, and then you're done. Now, once that's in place, the batten's holding it into the channel, and all you're going to do is take the shock cord from your underquilt, and you're just going to hook it onto the quilt hook. Okay. So before we get going to get this thing switched over to hammock mode, first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take off the underquilt for the time being. I'll explain a little bit later on how that hooks up on the hammock itself, but in order to get it off, you're just unhooking the 4 attachment points. Oh, and the little piece of suspension at the end. And I'm going to take this and I'm going to put it over here. Okay, so here's the chair, no insulation, just the chair itself. As you can see, there's actually 2 layers of fabric. Like I mentioned before, this is an 11-foot gathered end hammock that has been folded over. It's been folded over by running through this lower SMC. Now the reason why I went with an SMC ring here is to allow the fabric to equalize under pressure, so when you're sitting on it, one layer isn't taking more. The other thing is I didn't want anything to actually bind up on the fabric and do any damage to it, so the ring was a perfect solution for that. In order to get this thing apart, all you're going to do is you're going to take the suspension off. Now I want to take a quick second to explain that this isn't a quick thing. You're either setting up for the chair or you're setting up for the hammock. I never really meant for this to be a quick, hey, unhook, go find a tree, hook it back up again. So to go from chair to hammock mode, we're just going to take the chair off the suspension. So now for this, as I mentioned before, both ends are lark's head to the ring. In order to get them off, all you're going to do is flip the ring towards you, with the cross coming across the top. Flip the ring towards you, slide them both down, both sides, and then pop it out. Just like that. That frees up our 2 ends. To put it back together again, you're just going to put the 2 ends back together, put them through the loop, put the cinch section back up through, and slide them down. And you're back. Okay, so now to hook up the actual hammock. First thing you're going to do is you're going to take the 2 halves, separate them. So you're going to take the ones facing you, and you're going to lark's head the ring onto the am steel loop. Now you're just going to hook up your suspension again. So there is one side. Now earlier I mentioned the ring that's at the folded point. This ring is now going to slide to the end of the hammock. So as I back up, hammock unfolds, ring slides down the length, and now we have a regular gathered end, 11 foot, and I'm going to do the same thing, lark's heading the am steel loop onto the ring. Like so. And we'll just hook up the suspension. And there we go. We're in hammock mode. I've got one more thing to show you, and then I think we're pretty much done for this demonstration. Okay. So as I mentioned earlier, and I know I say that a lot, as I mentioned earlier, the hem, we did the hem for a couple of different reasons. So here we have like one of the clips, but for the hammock, what we did was we created an additional piece that is just a piece of shot cord. It's going to run through the channel, gathered up a little bit to help form a foot box or something at the head end to hold your pillow in. And all this is a piece of shot cord. I have a Dutch hook on the end and a cord lock. What you're going to do is pick two spots in the channel that you want to bunch up. Feed the shot cord down the handle, or down the feed the shot cord down the hem until you get to the second opening, and I usually go 3 or 4. And then once you're there, pop the shot cord out. Takes a little bit of fidgeting. Now on this end, when you pull it through, you just want to make sure that the hook catches on the lip of the hem. And this will stop it from pulling through. Okay, just like that. On this end, you're going to put the cord lock on and then cinch it up. And then that will form a bit of a foot box. Okay, so that's all I have on the winter recliner. As I said before, I posted full instructions on how to make this on the DIY thread. Any questions, concerns, don't hesitate to let me know. Thanks for watching. Have a great day.